Hello and welcome back to the Naked Expat channel. Today I'd like to talk about everybody's pet hate, mosquitoes. The reason for this was I was listening to a fascinating podcast the other day by Dr. Hannah Fry from the BBC and three guest professors on her show, Professor Leslie Vossel, Professor Sarah Rees and Professor John Pickett. Now, interestingly, most mosquitoes are vegetarian. However, there are a minority, as we all know, that feed from blood, and either animal or human blood. And they do that in order to obtain a protein-rich meal. And the minority of mosquitoes that do this are all female. And the reason they bite us and draw blood is to get that protein-rich meal in order for them to produce eggs. Now, our blood is packed with amino acids, which the female mosquito needs in order to make her eggs in her ovaries. Female mosquitoes drink blood to about double their size. So imagine that if they were humans, yeah? So, and they only have a lifespan of approximately 2 weeks. When female mosquitoes bite you, their saliva contains a local anesthetic, which is why you can't feel it when they bite you. When they finish drawing blood, that's when it hurts. Their saliva also contains a tenderizing agent which softens your skin to make it easier for them to puncture the surface of your skin. Now, this tenderizing agent is what people react to when you get a swelling or redness, etc., or soreness or itchy. And it affects people to a greater or lesser degree, depending on your ethnicity and your skin type. Now, some people are 100 times more attractive as far as female mosquitoes are concerned than the least attractive of us. Why? Well, it's still a mystery, but it is generally thought that odours attract mosquitoes as well as the carbon dioxide in our breath, which mosquitoes find very, very attractive. So washing and keeping ultra clean isn't going to help because it's natural skin odours that are excreted from our bodies. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has invested heavily over the last 14 years in order to try and ascertain why it is that mosquitoes are attracted to us humans and how they can prevent the spread of malaria and dengue fever. But mosquitoes always seem to be one step ahead, unfortunately. And professors basically said they're about 50,000 steps ahead because they evolve extremely quickly. There has been a recent compelling paper which has highlighted that if somebody drinks a pint of water, they remain a standard base level of attractiveness to mosquitoes. However, if those very same people drink a pint of beer, they become a lot more attractive to mosquitoes and are bitten much more frequently. They don't know yet whether it's beer or whether it's just alcohol in general. However, it's been proven that alcohol or beer has indeed an effect of making people more attractive to mosquitoes. So you heard it here first. Another test that's been done relatively recently is subjects have had their socks taken off of them and put onto heat pads, and they test whether or not the odours that are excreted through your feet have any effect on mosquitoes. And rather interestingly, with 2 test subjects with their socks put on heat pads in a controlled environment in a mosquito cage, where the 2 individual socks were put on the heat pads, the mosquitoes always favoured one particular sock. If the sock was put there individually from the test subjects, the mosquitoes didn't favour one or the other, they just gathered around the sock. So this goes some way to explaining why, if you are a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband and wife, or just mates on holiday, on vacation, one of you might get bitten by mosquitoes rather than the other, because it's this type of test highlights the fact that different people have different levels of attractiveness to mosquitoes. So you may well lie asleep and not get bitten, whereas your partner might be bitten 100, 200, 300 times. It's just unfortunately Mother Nature. If you are alone, of course, you're fair game and mosquitoes are going to come after you because they've got no other choice. Mosquitoes seem to be attracted to people that produce higher levels of carbolic acid. Now, this odour is normally excreted through people's feet, for example, and has nothing to do with body hygiene or cleanliness. Some people produce higher levels of carbolic acid than others. Another aspect are what's known as contextual repellents. Some people produce higher or lower levels of repellents naturally through their skin than others. Now, this type of contextual repellent signals to mosquitoes that perhaps your blood's not very tasty. And the higher levels of repellent that you have naturally occurring in your body that's secreted through your skin naturally will repel mosquitoes, and they'll just fly by you and pick on somebody else. Now, these repellents are called terpenoids. People have elevated or lower levels of terpenoids. Unfortunately, terpenoids cannot be replicated in a lab, so they can't be added to a mosquito repellent lotion or spray. They've not got to that stage yet, but they are scientists are aware that these terpenoid repellents are a great way of repelling mosquitoes. Interestingly, these terpenoid repellents increase in the body with increased levels of stress. So it could be deduced that the more stressed you are, the less likely you are to get bitten by mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are the biggest killers in the animal kingdom. A lot of people are aware of that. It's essentially not so much the mosquitoes, but the viruses and parasites that they carry. Now, mosquitoes have a 2-week lifespan, and viruses have a lifespan where they enter the mosquito and exit the mosquito in a little over 2 weeks. Hang on a minute, in order for the virus or parasite to replicate, it needs to grow inside the mosquito for more than 2 weeks. But if the mosquito's only lasting for 2 weeks, how's that possible? Because before they've had a time to fully incubate, the mosquito should have been dead. That's the host. What's generally thought is that, and it's agreed, is that mosquitoes that are infected with the dengue or malaria virus feel sick and they slow down. They don't do so much. So chances are their longevity is extended beyond the natural 2 weeks to a little bit longer because they don't feel very well. And the virus within the mosquito can, when it's ready to exit the mosquito, can make the mosquito ravenously hungry. And it's well documented that mosquitoes that are infected with malaria or dengue bite very viciously. And so it's generally being deduced that the virus causes an extended period of life for the mosquito beyond 2 weeks in order to give the virus time to incubate. When the virus is ready to exit the mosquito, it suddenly turns on the hunger pangs of the mosquito. The mosquito's flying around everywhere trying to find blood, and bingo, if it bites you and it's already got and it's infected with dengue or malaria, you're going to get dengue or malaria and you will know all about it. These viruses then obviously escape through the blood into the human being, and bingo, you've now got malaria or dengue. Now, as I've mentioned already, mosquitoes that are infected with dengue or malaria are highly aggressive biters. Additionally, several scientific papers highlight that people infected with dengue smell more attractive to non-infected mosquitoes, which helps dengue or malaria spread even more. Because if you're a non-infected mosquito and you're kind of hungry, who are you going to go for? You're not going to go for anybody that's high in natural repellents. You're going to go for somebody, if they smell good, and they smell better because they're infected with malaria or dengue, which is a real problem because the chances are that they're going to bite the person that's already infected, and that non-infected mosquito is going to become infected. So every time you get bitten by a mosquito, you're basically playing Russian roulette with malaria or dengue. Mosquitoes have been ridiculously underestimated by science and medicine. They are very sophisticated. It has already been proven that mosquitoes, because people use mosquito protective bed sheets, mosquitoes used to bite in the evening when people went to bed and they were sleeping, because they were easier targets. Because of the use of mosquito nets around beds, mosquitoes have evolved to bite earlier in the evening and early in the morning when people are out of bed and walking around. They didn't used to. Subsequently, now mosquitoes will congregate around schools, and when children are going to school or they're out in the playground, they're at high risk of being bitten by mosquitoes. And with mosquitoes being the biggest killer in the animal kingdom, there's thousands of children a year that are killed from and die from malaria and dengue from mosquito bites. These mosquitoes are hanging around schools and biting children as easy targets. So that's how mosquitoes have evolved. Evolution will always find a way, and even with the fantastic efforts of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and their 15 years of research, scientific research into trying to cure malaria and dengue fever and wipe it out, the mosquitoes, as these professors have said, are sort of 50,000 steps ahead. Evolution will always find a way. Unfortunately, the mosquitoes are still winning the battle. Take care out there. Please like and subscribe. They'll help me out tremendously. Thank you.